On a highway in Canada, an American woman and her boyfriend killed during a road trip. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez is in our Los Angeles bureau with what that woman's family is saying. Good morning, Marcy.
Good morning, Eva. They are, of course, heartbroken, saying the two were brutally killed. And while police aren't sharing many details, the big concern is that the killer is still on the run. This morning, an urgent manhunt in the mysterious murder of an American woman and her boyfriend in Canada. Their bodies found along the side of a rural highway.
I don't know who would do something like this.
This was someone's son, someone's daughter.
China Deeza's mother says the 24-year-old from Charlotte and her Australian boyfriend Lucas Fowler had just set out on a road trip to see Canada's national parks when they were killed sometime between Sunday evening and Monday morning. Their van found parked nearby.
This is an international murder case in Canada of an Australian and an American, and still no large public travelers notice or anything.
Police are also not saying how they were killed, now urging anyone who was on that stretch of Alaska Highway 97 in British Columbia and may have dash cam video from the area to call investigators who are desperately scouring for leads.
We're trying to comb through the evidence that is at the scene at this point.
Deeza's family concerned the killer is still free. This morning, they are pleading for answers.
It doesn't add up, and it's concerning, and we're never going to get full closure on this, and it's going to hurt the rest of our lives.
And Fowler's father is a senior police officer in Australia. This morning, his colleagues say they've learned both victims were shot to death. Investigators in Canada are also clarifying that this does not appear to be connected to any other cases, and they call finding this killer their top priority. Dan.
Let's hope it is. Marcy Gonzalez.
Protesters are hitting the streets right now in Puerto Rico. They're calling on the governor to resign after offensive messages were leaked. Brian Yenes is in San Juan with the very latest on this one. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Laura. Well, tonight, this is day 8 of continuous protests calling on Governor Ricardo Rosselló to resign. You can see behind me, this is what they call a cacerolazo. They are banging pots and pans right outside of the entrance of La Fortaleza, which is the governor's mansion. They've been here for the last 4 hours. This really started the protesting on Saturday of last week when 889 pages of text messages from a group chat with Rosselló and 11 of his aides came out. They were misogynistic, they were homophobic, there were abhorrent things said about political opponents, and there were also mocking and jokes made about the Hurricane Maria victims. And for many people here, that was enough, because they've had suspicion for years here that this government was not only corrupt, but also unethical. Take a listen to Francisco Guerrero. We spoke to him a few hours ago.
We're here motivated, as all these people are with us. We want Ricky out. I think it's gone too far. We've done too much damage about bad governance. It's about corruption. It's about high-level government corruption that's costing a lot of money. It's ruining our own reputation before the American people. It's unacceptable.
The big issue now is wondering when or not Rosselló is going to resign. Things really hit ahead on Wednesday night when tear gas was shot out, but by and large, 90% of these protests have been peaceful. Meanwhile, Ricardo Rosselló continues to send Instagram tweets and photos of him having meetings as if it's business as usual. Well, it's not business as usual. You can tell from the tens of thousands in the streets, and also the calls for resignation coming from the mainland. Joe Biden, the former vice president, tweeting, Governor Rosselló's comments are shameful. Hateful language should be given no safe harbor, regardless of political title. The people of Puerto Rico will be heard, and they will decide who leads their government. Laura, so far, about a dozen of the Democratic candidates have spoken out in solidarity with the Puerto Rican people, but some, like Tulsi Gabbard, the representative from Hawaii, are here on the island. She's the only one, and she is calling for Rosselló to outright resign. Some are saying to resign, others are saying they're there for solidarity. solidarity. But all in all, the calls are growing louder for him to step down. Laura?
Brian Yanis for us live in Puerto Rico on the streets there where things have been loud and staying that way, it appears. Brian, thank you. The U.S. deploying more military to Saudi Arabia in a show of force amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. Iran seizing a British oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz just one day after the U.S. took down an Iranian drone. The president warning Iran against any more provocative action, alluding to the sanctions already crippling the country.
Iran is in big trouble right now. Their economy is crashing. It's coming to a crash. They're trying to bring soldiers back home because they can't pay them. A lot of bad things are happening to them, and it's very easy to straighten out, or it's very easy for us to make it a lot worse.
Lucas Tomlinson is live from the Pentagon with the very latest on this developing story. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, Laura. It's the first time in 16 years the U.S. military has deployed forces to Saudi Arabia as tensions with Iran continue to escalate. The Pentagon made the announcement last night in a statement, quote, "This movement of forces provides an additional deterrent and ensures our ability to defend our forces and interests in the region from emergent, credible threats. U.S. Central Command continually assesses force posture in the region and is working with Kingdom of Saudi Arabia authorities to base U.S. assets at the appropriate locations." The statement did not mention Iran by name. Earlier today, Iranian state TV aired this video showing Islamic Revolutionary Guard forces wearing black ski masks fast roping down a helicopter on the deck of the British oil tanker seized Friday night in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces briefly detained another British tanker but let the vessel proceed to the Persian Gulf. Last week, a Royal Navy warship blocked 3 Iranian gunboats from seizing another British tanker. Iran says its actions are retaliation for British commandos seizing their supertanker off Gibraltar 2 weeks ago. Authorities said it was carrying oil to Syria in violation of EU sanctions. There are currently 70,000 U.S. troops deployed to the Middle East. The hundreds going to Saudi Arabia are part of the reinforcements the Pentagon ordered to the region in May and will include a Patriot missile battery and more fighter jets. One day before Iran seized the British tanker, the USS Boxer, seen here, transited the Strait of Hormuz in a show of force and destroyed an Iranian drone using this new Marine Corps anti-drone jamming device strapped to the deck without firing a shot, a new addition to the U.S. arsenal. Iran denies the American warship downed its drone.
Based on the latest information I received from Tehran, we have so far absolutely no information about losing a drone.
It went down. And the fact that Foreign Minister Zarif either didn't know or lied about it, I can't account for. It happened.
This latest provocation from Iran comes nearly a month to the day when Iranian forces shot down a U.S. drone over the Strait of Hormuz. Laura?
All right, Lucas Tomlinson for us at the Pentagon. Thank you so much for that.
We begin this morning with the dangerous and deadly heat gripping nearly more than half the nation. Tens of millions are set to broil in record-setting high temperatures this weekend, with heat advisories or warnings in effect from the Midwest to much of the East Coast. That, coupled with high humidity, and the heat index will exceed 100 degrees here in New York, as well as other major cities. The heat wave is already blamed for at least 6 deaths.
The extreme weather is testing power companies as they work to keep air conditioners and mass transit systems working. Last night in New York, tens of thousands of subway riders were left trapped on sweltering platforms after a computer system failure. It is unclear if the weather was to blame, but it was just part of the city that was affected. The New York Triathlon has been canceled, as have countless outdoor music festivals and parties. Now to another major city. Natalie Brand has more from a hot and steamy Washington this morning. Natalie, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Jeff and Michelle. Well, one reason why city leaders across the East Coast are so worried about this heat wave is hitting during the weekend. People want to be outdoors, enjoying their Saturday. Visitors to D.C. will be out and about, taking in the history of this city. But the message to stress this morning, take this heat seriously. In the nation's capital, the heat is usually inside the chambers of Congress. This weekend, it's outside. So hot, the mayor of D.C. activated a heat emergency plan. Dr. Chris Rodriguez is the district's director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency. He says officials will be monitoring the dangerous temperatures from this emergency operations center.
This is going to be one of the most severe heat events that we've had in the last several years. And so, again, we are watching for the effects of heat stroke and heat exhaustion.
More than 150 million people are expected to feel the first major heat wave of the year, which has the potential to break daily records. While Midwestern cities like Milwaukee and Chicago will be affected, the East Coast is expected to take the brunt of it.
The message I want to keep getting across to all New Yorkers is take this weather seriously.
Temperatures are expected to range from the mid-90s to the triple digits, with the heat index making it feel as hot as 100 to 115 degrees.
You go out and you feel like you're hitting a wall of heat, and you feel like you're in an oven the whole time. So, yeah, it's pretty brutal.
I feel overwhelmed from the heat. It's unbearable, really.
Not only uncomfortable, but potentially life-threatening, with at least 6 deaths already reported, including 32-year-old former New York Giants lineman Mitch Petrus, who died Thursday of apparent heat stroke.
Experts warn that the heat can really be a silent killer. Doctors urging you to watch out for those symptoms of heat illness. They include, of course, headache, dizziness, muscle cramping, nausea, and another important sign to look for, a lack of sweating. Elaine?
All right, Natalie, good information. Thank you. For more on the extreme heat, let's turn to meteorologist Jeff Baradelli. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Elaine, and good morning, everybody. This is a huge heat wave covering about 150 plus million people across the eastern 2/3 of the country. We may break 24 records. They're in jeopardy as we head through the weekend. It's not just the heat, it's definitely the humidity this time. Humidity is surging to the north across the Great Lakes and into the northeast around this area of high pressure, combining with hot temperatures near 100 for feels like temperatures between 100 and 115 degrees. This is the way it looks during the day today. St. Louis feels like temperature 109. Detroit 111. Baltimore 114. And during the day tomorrow, the same. Louisville 103, 111 in Richmond, 111 in Baltimore, still hot in St. Louis, 108 degrees. We zoom in on the northeast because this is where we're going to see some of the hottest temperatures today and tomorrow. It's 100 in New York today, feels like 113. Tomorrow, it feels like 109 in New York, almost up to 115 is the feels like temperature during the day. But here's the good news. You probably want relief, and it's coming. We're going to see a big flip in the jet stream as we head into early next week, and this is going to feel oh so good as we head into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
It is big and barely governable, and Ebola has taken hold in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The aid agencies and local officials are waging war on the virus, but they're losing the fight. They cannot contain the disease. So organizations like the World Food Programme have ramped up their response, and we joined them in an armed convoy as they ventured into territory held by local militia.
The situation here is very volatile and can change from 1 hour to another.
Wow.
We need to always reassess the situation.
It's a hot spot, and the WFP hasn't been here before, but the aid agencies have to expand their operations and win support of those on the ground.
We're going to meet the local chief. We're visitors here, and we need his permission to be here.
Health workers are frequently attacked by Congolese who don't believe Ebola exists. But the local chief assured us we'd be able to travel safely. 30 kilometers up the road, we reached a distribution center where hundreds were queuing up for food. And there was something special about this group. Each one has been in direct contact with a victim of Ebola. They're all considered high risk. Blaise Mahamba pleads with villagers to keep their distance, for Ebola is spread by spit and sweat.
Can you stop it? Can you stop the spread of this virus? Is it possible?
C'est possible, c'est par des sensibilisations que nous allons vaincre. C'est par des sensibilisations. Parce que le début n'est pas comme aujourd'hui. Le début c'était autre, parce que les gens fuyaient dans la forêt. Mais actuellement les gens s'amènent.
The WFP is using food as its principal weapon. With a sack of rice and beans, the villagers of Aloya are less likely to travel. They're less likely to spread the virus.
Do you feel scared sometimes?
Ndio. Hii malali iko na boka juu haichaguake mtu. Ikaingia mkafaa tu azare mnaisha.
More than 60 have died from Ebola in this village. 3 suspect cases were detained in this shack on the morning of our visit. They were taken to a treatment facility where doctors work in specialist rooms called cubes. But there is no cure for this infection, and the majority here will die.
Well, we're heading over to the cubes now with the doctors. And you know, they've got no more beds left in this place. The facility is absolutely full. And the suspect cases, well, they don't bring them here anymore. They're all assessed on the other side of the road. I really can't think of a more challenging or a more testing place to work.
More than 1,650 people have lost their lives to Ebola since the virus took hold. But there is reason to hope. This baby, nicknamed Jeremy, was born in a cube, and doctors think the child and his mother may survive. But they'll need extraordinary support, like the country they live in, if they're going to recover from Ebola. John Sparks, Sky News in Beni.